Here we are with Adrian Bertini from Ladevi. It's part of the eTourism Summit after-party conversations we're having at IPW 2021 here in beautiful Las Vegas. Adrian, how are you? ¿Cómo estás?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Bien, bien. So explain to us, for folks who might not know exactly Ladevi and what you do and how big that organization is.
Well, Ladevi and Panrotas are media groups.
Yeah.
They are positioned as the most influential news resources for the travel industry in Latin America.
They're the superstars of Latin America. Come on, you're being modest,
Thank
right?
you.
And what do you have? You have websites, you have magazines. What does it consist of?
Well, we are focusing of course, in the B2B.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to travel agents, travel advisors around Latin America, from Mexico to Argentina. So we are sharing the breaking news from the U.S. to all of them.
Okay. And what is the sentiment right now? I mean, what is the news from the U.S. that you're sharing with them? I mean, is it good news, or you just keep them up to date? How has it been the last 18 months?
I think we have great news in the last days.
Yes, we did.
The U.S. is opening the borders for Brazil, for example. So I think we can see some lights at the end of the tunnel, which is great for the travel industry. And of course, Latin Americans, they love the U.S.
Sure.
So they like to travel to the U.S. They were looking forward for that. And these kind of events are, I think, bringing together all the travel industry, which is amazing. So yeah, we are happy.
And they're necessary. You're a journalist, right? You cover things. So what has the story been, really? What have you been writing about when people haven't been traveling? What's been the focus on it? I mean, other than the health aspects, have you been doing any other kind of coverage to keep destinations top of mind? What have you been thinking about?
I think in the last time, it was like being close to the travel advisors in Latin America. Most of the destinations have been focusing in training, in being close. So I think, mainly that was like supporting the travel industry and trying to bring together destinations, companies with travel advisors during the last 18 months.
Yeah.
So
and what was the advice? I mean, what was the conversation? It was just we're waiting.
Yes, it was mainly we are waiting for the recovery of the travel industry. And as I told you, we can start seeing some lights at the end of the tunnel.
Now, does your organization or your coverage do any concentration on in-country tourism, on Argentinians exploring Argentina or Brazilians exploring Brazil, or is it all inbound from other countries?
No. Yes, there was a lot of domestic travels around. I mean, in Mexico, in Brazil, in Argentina, Peru, Chile, Ecuador, where we are based. And of course, inbound traveling too.
And is that something they were just trying to get done because they couldn't leave the country? I mean, for example, in Florida, and I was just talking with folks from New York and Kentucky even, they started appealing to people who lived in the destination. They started spending their money and their marketing exclusively on people who lived there because they would drive around and just, people weren't coming in, they weren't flying in. Did the same thing happen in Latin America?
Yes, the same thing happened. Actually, because of the borders, some borders were closed for Latin Americans. But then you also have the issue of the testing.
Yeah.
So you have to test the PCR test.
Right.
And then coming back to our countries in Latin America, it was another issue about doing a quarantine in some of the countries. So maybe you should be like 7 days at home and then test again for a PCR test. So, I think a lot of travelers decided to travel in the country for domestic travelers.
And the same, I'm guessing the same thing. In America, as much as it is nice to have domestic traveler, look, let's face it, the big money is on international travelers. They are the bread and butter, particularly for major destinations like New York, like Miami, San Francisco. Without them, we have domestic travel. And simultaneously, group travel has been in trouble, as you know, because we've not had large conventions like we're having here in Las Vegas. As those come back online, as the news gets better about opening up borders, do you see your business picking up? Do you see more stories coming up? Have you slowed things down with the slowness in tourism?
Yeah, I think it's getting better. It's recovering. We have been covering a very important MICE event in Mexico last month, talking about groups and incentives and the MICE segment. I think people want to get that kind of events in person again. They
Yeah.
want to meet in person again. So I think the industry is going to be recovering in the next year. It will take a time.
It will.
And of course, we have to learn about new protocols and all that kind of stuff, but we'll do it for sure.
Is there anything that you did differently during the pandemic that you'll continue doing that way? Something you learned during the pandemic about what you do or how you go about your job and your business that, because I've talked with a lot of people about what are the learnings, what have they learned that they can take and move forward with and not go back to doing it a different way? Is there anything you do that you might continue doing differently?
Yes, we get used to many things. And of course, there are some things since the pandemic that we are learning as safety protocols maybe, that is going to be important to keep in order to make everything more safety for all that people. So, well, hopefully we'll be seeing that in the near future. We are getting used to that too. So yeah, maybe mainly focusing safety. I think it's going to be.
That's a good point because it's something that we took for granted, and we likely have to keep in this zone for some time to begin. One more question. Entonces, ¿cómo está la vida en Buenos Aires?
Wow, the life in Argentina and Buenos Aires is good. It's getting normal every day, which is good. I'm based in Miami mainly, but I also traveling a lot to Argentina, and things start getting more normal.
One of my favorite places to go, honestly.
You're always welcome.
Not saying that because I'll stay with you next time, but hopefully, yeah. Listen, thanks for taking time out today, Adrian Bertini with Ladevi, and welcome. And we'll see you again in June already, right?
Yes.
For IPW coming up.
For sure.
Here we are at ETS, eTravel Summit, eTourism Summit here at IPW in Las Vegas 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.